It's Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning into Loud Majority Live. Debate night in America, baby. Oh, yeah, the night we've all been waiting for. The night we've all been waiting for Comrade Kamala to get smacked around by Donald Trump tonight in the debate on ABC News. I know I'm excited about it. I know you guys are too. We're going to go over a bunch of the debate stuff leading up to tonight as CNN begins to backtrack, pointing out that, you know what? Kamala Harris might actually be an extremist. May actually be an extremist. This comes as Google is doing their hardest, doing their utmost to stop everything Donald Trump positive from popping up on your screen. James O'Keefe has a great expose, as usual, from one of the top growth strategist engineers over at Google, explaining that, Google's swaying the election for Kamala Harris. Also, real quick, an MS-13 gang member enrolled in a Maryland high school while facing charges for killing a 20-year-old. Another wild story that you're just not supposed to pay attention to. Another wild one you're just not supposed to notice. We'll get into that. Also, at the end of the show today, super excited, we are going to be joined by Alison Esposito, former deputy inspector of the NYPD, lieutenant governor candidate with Lee Zeldin, and current congressional candidate in New York 18. That's Dutchess County, Putnam, Orange, Ulster County. That is sort of just north of New York City. We've got an event planned with Allison this Sunday. Super excited about that. Allison will be joining us at the end of the show. Guys, before we get started, hit that thumbs up button. Share this video out all over the place. We've been pulling in some big numbers recently, and it's super exciting. Super exciting stuff. I want to thank everybody always for the support. Make sure no matter where you're watching, you guys head over and subscribe, rumble.com/LFATV. Rumble.com/LFATV. Arrow Pink, how are you? Oh, yes. And real quick, shout out to all the Jet fans out there who tried to tell us that this year was going to be different. It's not. Same old, same old, same old. Helen, how are you? Friend of Trump. Kevin, it's Kenny from the Loud Majority on Long Island. What's up, Kenny? Chicky Mama, how are you? Cheryl, how are you? AC Knight, what is happening? Kevin, are you going to be at the Whitestone Republican Club tonight? I think that's tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. It's usually on Wednesdays. Wait, is today Wednesday? No, today is Tuesday. What are you doing? You get me all messed up here. I think that's tomorrow. Pops, how are we doing? Callie, how are you? How are you? Doing well as always. Leah Hunt, how are you? Once again, guys, for all of my local audience this Saturday, another Trump rally coming up here on Long Island. Kevin, did you put aloe on? Nah, I'm just letting it rock. I'm just letting this awful sunburn rock. Because I'm stubborn. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? So, hit that thumbs up button. Let's dive right in. So, ahead of the presidential debate tonight, people are starting to backtrack a little bit. You're starting to see people like Nate Silver talk about how Donald Trump is ahead in the polls, with his predicted market now being at 63%. Donald Trump seems to have all of the momentum moving forward, and places like CNN are starting. Callie, are you coming to the watch party tonight? You coming to the debate watch party tonight? You better be. People at CNN are starting to notice things. They're starting to notice that maybe, just maybe, in fact, Kamala Harris may be an absolute fraud. She may also be the insane radical that we have all said she is. And Donald Trump plans to call out that far-left agenda as Biden's VP during the debate tonight. Donald Trump, this from the Post Millennial, plans on tying Kamala Harris to her record as the vice president under the Biden-Harris administration as the Attorney General of California and San Francisco's DA in the Tuesday night debate against the Democratic candidate, which is 9 o'clock in Pittsburgh tonight. Is it Pittsburgh or Philly? Could Post Millennial have that wrong? On a press call in the lead up to the debate, the Trump camp informed reporters that Kamala Harris will have to defend her record as the vice president during the last few years. Kamala Harris not only has to defend her record as vice president, but also has to defend the record of the president as co-president, because she was the one running the country, said Jason Miller on the call. The New York Times is also reporting that the VP will have to face the challenge of pushing ahead without leaving Biden behind. The Trump campaign has other plans and will seek to tie her to Biden's record as much as possible. Miller added in the call on Monday that Harris will not only have to account for her record as VP, but also her time as the Attorney General of California and San Francisco. That is absolutely what Donald Trump needs to do. Because right now the Kamala Harris campaign has been trying a strategy of taking credit for the good while ignoring the bad. Earlier today, the Kamala Harris's Twitter account, I know it's not really her, tried to take credit for gas prices going under $3 nationally. Now, Kamala Harris, my question to you is, why were they above $3 nationally? Oh, that's right, because of your terrible administration. See, this is what Democrats do. This is the Democratic playbook. Create a problem, do a half-assed job of fixing it, and then expect to get credit for fixing it. That's what Democrats have always done. They never take responsibility for anything. Back to the article, Congressman Matt Gaetz, when asked about what would be a successful debate would look like for Trump, responded by saying that a good night for Trump would be if President Trump ties Kamala Harris to her record. That'll be a success because the American people see what a dangerous radical liberal she is. The Times agreed that the American voter seeing her as similar to Biden would be the main vulnerability for Harris, as a recent poll showed that people are looking for change, but that Harris can easily be painted as more of the same old, as she served as vice president under the current administration. At the same time, looking too similar to Trump on policies like the border will pose a challenge for her. Everything Kamala Harris has put out over the course of the last several weeks are either a continuation of Biden policies, which is not what the American people want, or some version of what Donald Trump has already said. Whether it's taking J.D. Vance's child tax credit, whether it's the no tax on tips. If Donald Trump is able to tie her to the Biden administration, that is going to be a win. My advice to the Trump campaign, my advice to Donald Trump, if anybody out there is listening, stick to policy. Look, you like the name calling, I like the name calling. Comrade Kamala, Sleepy Joe, Crazy Nancy, we love it. That's not what tonight is about. Tonight is about getting the people who aren't sure of who they're going to vote for. Getting the people who are on the fence. Tonight is not for you. Tonight is not for me. A nationally televised debate that's going to be seen by 25 million people on cable alone is for those undecideds out there. It's for those people who've never voted before. It is to show people that Kamala Harris is the wrong way forward for this country. No doubt, we are going to get the word salads that we always get. No doubt about that. Kamala Harris saying virtually nothing while just muttering words together haphazardly. I have no doubt about that. The Trump campaign also added that a possible target of Trump during the debate will be that Harris will not know enough of the material that will be brought up in the debate. Not inaccurate. She wanted the debate to have notes. You know, like an open book test freshman year. The fact that that wasn't panned by the media is one of the most wild things I think I've ever seen. Right now, quote, You have Kamala Harris, who's in this debate boot camp being drilled by new advisors who worked for President Obama that she doesn't even know. She has binders full of details trying to figure out what's been happening at the Department of Labor for the last 3.5 years, trying to explain where those 800,000 jobs went. Miller expanded on that Harris will likely be stressed out on the debate stage with an audience while trying to remember all the information that she has tried to store in her head over the last couple of days. Donald Trump's just going to be himself, Miller said of the GOP nominee when asked if Trump would take a different tone because of how he's facing Kamala Harris. I think Donald Trump should just be himself. He knows the facts, he knows the policies, put them forward, and let her back up. Donald Trump has to remain on the offense while not looking aggressive. It is a very tough line to draw, but we saw him do it in the Joe Biden debate. So much so that he ended a political career. See, here's the thing about Democrats. If you let them talk long enough, they'll bury themselves. They'll bury themselves. One more example of this, which is one of the more wild things I think I've ever seen, is CNN beginning to turn on Kamala Harris. Before we get to that, guys, hit that thumbs up button, share this video out all over the place. Let's pop the live chat up. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing while I get a sip? Once again, for the local crowd, tonight we'll be watching the debate at the Edge at Lulu's in Medford on 112. Doors open at 7 o'clock. If you guys would like to come on down and say hello. If anybody wants to come on down and say hello, that'll be 112 tonight. The Edge at Lulu's. Come on down. Kathleen, how are you? Carol, how are you? I just read a really stupid message that annoyed me to no end. Natalie, how are you? Nancy, how are you? Hazel Kitty, what's going on? What's going on? Once again, 112 tonight, Lulu's at the Edge. Come on down. Come on down. So CNN is starting to notice that there's a little bit more radicalism than even they would like to believe. Just who is the extremist in this presidential election? Writes hotair.com. The mainstream media keeps trying to cast Donald Trump in that role, but his policies are closer to the mainstream, and polling shows it, and voters know it. On the other hand, the policy positions of Kamala Harris, at least those she's expressed herself, rather than by some anonymous aide or plagiarized from Joe Biden, sit far on the fringe of the American electorate. In a follow-up last night to CNN's K-File expose, host Erin Burnett called Harris's track record incredible stuff. Burnett seemed shocked that by Kamala Harris's pledge for things like taxpayer-funded inmate gender transitions and illegal immigrants. They went through a whole slew of things that Kamala Harris is just unbelievably radical about.
Tonight, Kamala Harris releasing details of her policy positions for the first time on her campaign website. A K-File investigation has uncovered, meantime, a 2019 questionnaire. And in this questionnaire, Harris laid out some much more liberal stances, among them on immigration. So in 2019, in what K-File found, she said she would cut funding to ICE, writing, quote, "Our immigrant detention system is out of control, and I believe we must end the unfair incarceration of thousands of individuals, families, and children. I was one of the first senators after President Trump was elected to advocate for a decrease in funding to ICE." Well, now, of course, she's touting the Biden administration's executive order to crack down on the border. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski joins me now. Andrew, that's pretty incredible on its own when you're talking about what you found here on ICE. What else did you find?
Yeah, and this was a questionnaire that she filled out for the ACLU, and this questionnaire is really an interesting snapshot in time of that 2019 Democratic primary. Kamala Harris was trying to get to the left of Bernie Sanders. She was trying to get to the left of Elizabeth Warren, and you really see that in a lot of these answers, and I want to walk our viewers through a little bit of what she said. Let's just take immigration and look at what she said here. She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She
migrants.
actually said she supported that.
She both wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this. Oh. And she said she also supported it for federal prisoners. Now, she also pledged to slash immigration detention by 50%, close all family and private facilities, and decrease funding for ICE, and then to end ICE detainers with local law enforcement.
I mean, these are things that, you know, it would be hard to think that you would come up with taxpayer funding gender transitions for detained migrants, and yet this, as you say, written and verbally. You know, what else, you know, did you find?
Well, let's take a look at her answer here on drugs. She got asked about the question from the ACLU was, since drug use is better addressed as a public health issue through treatment and other programming, will you support the decriminalization at the federal level of all drug possession for personal use? And Harris answers yes. Now, what would that mean? Well, it mean the federal all drug possession. That's not just marijuana, which she alluded to in her answer to this question, but it also would mean
it's federal level of all drug possession,
fentanyl, crack,
use.
Cocaine, things like that. Yeah.
Have they responded to you on her changes on these issues?
So we did put this question to the Harris campaign about the entire ACLU questionnaire, and the Harris campaign didn't answer any questions from CNN. Instead, they just provided a statement from an unnamed Harris campaign advisor that just said, the vice president's positions have been shaped by 3 years of effective governance as part of the Biden-Harris administration. Now, they declined to CNN to elaborate on what those positions were, and then they also provided this statement, which they attributed to a spokesperson saying, as president, she will take that same pragmatic approach, focusing on common sense solutions for the sake of progress. So where does she stand on this, all this questionnaire today? We don't know, and they won't say.
It's pretty incredible stuff, and thank you very much, Andrew K-File, for this reporting.
I want to thank Erin Burnett. I really want to thank Erin Burnett for, joining the rest of us like a decade ago. I love it actually. This is incredible stuff. I had no idea. I don't know. Turn off CNN and put on anything else, and you would have known Erin Burnett. But now, clutch my pearls. It turns out Kamala Harris is one of the biggest radicals in not only the history of presidential administrations, but in the history of the Senate, further to the left than Bernie Sanders. Now, look, do I support the legalization of marijuana? Yeah, I do. I'm very libertarian on drugs. However, not fentanyl, not heroin, maybe not the best idea in the world. Taxpayer-funded illegal immigrant transgender surgery. That is the slogan. That is the calling card for this current Democratic Party. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. Before we keep rocking and rolling, guys, Mike Lindell.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD, for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. Let's pop this live chat up onto the screen. Guys, in a minute, we are going to be joined by the next Congresswoman from New York's 18, That's upstate New York. That's Putnam, Orange, and Ulster County. Alison Esposito, former deputy inspector for the NYPD and lieutenant governor candidate under Lee Zeldin. If you've been to any of our events, you've met Alison. She's absolutely spectacular. Before we get to that, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. Sign up over there. Check out the LFA TV store. Pick up some of Jeremy's phenomenal merch. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor to LFA TV. That is the best way to support this network and everything we've got going on over here. Guys, that's lfatv.us, lfatv.us. That's your landing pad and your mothership for all things LFA TV related. That's lfatv.us. What's happening, everybody? Arrow Pink, how are you? You got to meet Alison. She's absolutely great. This Sunday, we are going up. How do I get a lawn sign for Alison? You can go to her campaign headquarters. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be up there on Saturday in Goshen, New York. Goshen, New York, from 12:30 to 3. If you guys are looking to pick up lawn signs, do any of that stuff. Guys, we would really love all the support. If you're from Queens, if you're from that area, come on up. We could really use the help. Let's get Alison elected, guys. Sorry about that. Guys, we will be right back with Alison Esposito. Alrighty, guys, we are back. I am super excited to introduce you guys to my next guest. If you're a New Yorker, you know her very, very well. She was Lee Zeldin's running mate in 2022. She is now running for Congress in New York's 18th Congressional District. Guys, please say hello to former Deputy Inspector in the NYPD, Alison Esposito. Alison, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
Doing very well,
Good. I am too. Very busy. We've been hitting, I would say hit the ground running, but I feel like I've been campaigning now for years. So we have been hitting the ground. We've been pounding the pavement, if you will, getting our message across, our common sense wave. We have a city, a state, a country that has been turned upside down. And we have to bring some common sense back to elected officials and leadership positions. So I'm looking forward to fighting for the American public.
Absolutely. And, it's so interesting you say that, talking about leadership in Congress. You obviously were a leader for years on the NYPD, former deputy inspector, which is from what I'm told, a pretty high up position there. A little bit more than my cousin Brian, was just walking around. But no, they, it's so fascinating to see. As I said, you ran for lieutenant governor. We had an amazing couple of years, came up a little bit short, but now you're back in it in what I would consider upstate New York. I know they don't consider it upstate New York.
Do not consider it upstate New York. Yes, and I learned that in the gubernatorial race that there's like huge fights and debates on where upstate actually starts. You ask somebody from Long Island, it starts at Westchester.
Yep.
But it's definitely it's definitely been cause for a lot of debate. But the bottom line is what happened was Lee and I walked away from my beloved police department and the cops that I loved more than my next breath of air. And the reason I did that, I was 25 years along what I wanted to be a 40-year career. I wanted to be the police commissioner. But I saw my cops going out every day with fear in their eyes. And this wasn't traditional fear of losing their life. This was a fear of losing their jobs and potentially their freedom for doing the jobs that we need them to do, that society needs them to do. And I saw them taking loaded illegal firearms off the waistbands of career criminals, sometimes 2, 3, 4 times, same perp. And those perps were in the precinct collecting their property to go home before my cops were even done processing the arrest. People were struggling. And I saw, like I said, a city, a state, and a country turned upside down. So I walked away to run with Congresswoman Zeldin. And, we came up just short in this deep blue state, which I would submit is not a blue state. It's a red state with blue dots. Mm-hmm. And our Republicans and the conservative Democrats and the middle of the road Democrats and independents, I believe the silent majority is awake, and we realize that we are focusing far too much on what divides us and not what unites us as Americans. And I think that's why this is going to happen. But 62 counties, Lee and I went everywhere. And I made a commitment to those New Yorkers, people that said, I can't afford to live here anymore. Or my kids can't afford to live here, so I'm not going to see my grandbabies grow up here. Or I can't afford to harvest the crop that I planted because of these ridiculous EV mandates and on a grid that we can't even support, or the attack on energy that Kathy Hochul and Green New Deal Pat Ryan has. I made a commitment to these New Yorkers. And even though Lee and I came up just short, it didn't change that commitment. So I had to figure out how to serve. Mm-hmm. Guess what? I happen to live in the Hudson Valley. I grew up in Highland Mills. I live in Goshen. And it's a seat that Lee and I won that district by 3 full points. Pat Ryan was just able to eke out a victory by about 1.5 points, a little bit less. And I really feel like, we left this seat behind, and the Hudson Valley needs and wants someone with conservative American first leadership that's able to, work obviously across the aisle, but stand up for our Americans and put our people first. We have out of control border crisis. Our crime statistics are being skewed, and it's not only is crime up if you compare it to pre-bail reform, but it's the perception. People don't feel safe walking our streets anymore. Oh, yeah. And it's not just New York City; it's the bedroom communities of New York City too. In Middletown, outside in my district, outside of New York City, migrants are up there, and one committed a double homicide while on the deportation list. So, I mean, this is stuff that I made a commitment to these people, and I got to see it through.
Absolutely. And, your opponent, Pat Ryan, obviously, he was the former Ulster County executive who basically made Ulster County a sanctuary county. And yes, for my Long Islanders out there, you know how important, Ed Romaine and Bruce Blakeman have been in doing everything they can to keep the sort of insanity that's coming from New York City out of the eastern counties. Well, unfortunately, we have a lot of counties up north that are not faring as well due to pretty rough leadership at the top. And for the New Yorkers out there, it's a $15 train ride from Midtown Manhattan to my house. I'm sure on Metro North, it's probably about the same. And, when we see the sorts of crime that's going on in New York City, it is not the traditional sort of big city crime. Now, look, you put a couple million people in a city, you're going to have crime. But now we saw videos out the other day of children selling fruit and selling water bottles in Midtown Manhattan. And I'm thinking to myself, why are you not in school? Why are you not doing what a 13-year-old ought to be doing? And it's because, unfortunately, a lot of the people that got sent here, they were promised something. And I tell people all the time, Manhattan is full. And once people start to realize Manhattan is full, it's going to be those downstate counties like Ulster and Orange and Dutchess and Putnam and the Long Island ones that really feel the impact.
Absolutely. And Pat Ryan did make Ulster County a sanctuary county. Now imagine that as an executive, you're standing in solidarity with illegal immigrants. You're turning your back on the law. You're turning the back on the proper asylum process. You're turning your back on your citizens. Not only did he make Ulster County a sanctuary county and refuse to cooperate with ICE and law enforcement, but he is a weapons even in the hands of cops. He calls weapons of war, and he actually defunded his own SWAT team. God forbid there is an incident where a SWAT team has to respond in a public venue, a mall, a school, anything like that. You need your SWAT team. This guy is so far left. He talks a moderate game, and you would think he was moderate and common sense, right? He was a West Point grad. Well, I thank him for his service to our country, but I'll bet you, but I would submit that his service ceased once he took off that uniform, because he is not serving the American people right now in Congress. In fact, he's doing the opposite, and he's the wrong guy. He's not. He's not the middle of the road moderate that he purports to be. He's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and he's a very dangerous one.
so many Democrats do that. They campaign to the middle and they govern to the far left. I think it's so interesting, that he defunded the SWAT team in Ulster County. Something tells me he did not defund his private security, his governmental security detail, because he, of course, is one of the important people.
Right.
And the rest of us out there just have to attempt to fend for ourselves in a state where it's virtually impossible to get a handgun. As I've been on that waiting list for 3 years now. Any day now. Someone could just move that paper from one side of the desk to the other. That would be great. But so we are going to be coming up to Goshen, New York on September 25th. This Sunday. September 15th. On September 15th. And that's why I was so excited to have you on, because everybody who watches this show knows I don't put my support behind anyone with an R next to their name. I save it for the ones who count. And as I said before, I think we need people that are not going to be the followers we see in Congress. So many Republicans seem to go to Congress and then they disappear. They go away. And I know that you are not one of those. And as I said, for everyone who's watching this right now, you need to understand that the policies of New York City don't stay in the Bronx. They don't stay in Staten Island. If you're in North Jersey, if you're in the downstate, if you're on Long Island, we are all affected by this world.
That's true. That is very true. So I would ask all of your supporters to join with us. If they can go to AlisonEsposito.com to learn more about me, the background, the policies. They can also, you have to understand, and it's not, if you're not following politics, and sometimes you don't even realize how government works, but I myself, I was concentrated on the police world. So even though, like, the voting district, I was like, wait, what district am I in? What do I do here? But with Congress, it's very local, right? Mm-hmm. You worry about your district, but at the same time, you're worried about the state. But at the same time, you're worried about the country. And at the same time, you're worried about international issues. And you have a footing everywhere. So I would ask your viewers, I mean, this is one of the top 3 races in the country that's being watched as a flippable Republican seat. So anybody within the sound of my voice or sees this, go to AlisonEsposito.com. If you can donate, please donate. Pat Ryan is a Soros-backed individual. I don't have to outraise him, but I do have to raise enough to get this common sense message across. If you can't donate, I encourage you to join us on Sunday. Come door knock. Come up to the beautiful Hudson Valley. It's coming into the fall season. It is so gorgeous. We have apple picking and orchards and distilleries and wineries, and it's just great stuff. Although I know you guys have the wineries out on Long Island. Probably, I don't know.
I can't cheat on our North Fork wineries. I'll get in trouble when I come home. Distillery, however.
The distillery. Yeah.
Absolutely. But before I let you go, there was something I was always curious about, particularly with your level of law enforcement knowledge. When it came to the defund the police movement, there were some places out there that didn't necessarily defund them the way we saw in, like, Minneapolis. But my contention has always been that the demoralization of police is almost worse than the defunding of them themselves. Because anybody with 20 years in took their pension and left, all the guys at the top, and then nobody signs up at the bottom. So you seem to have people that are just kind of stuck in, like, that 8 to 15 year range where there's no young guys learning the ropes and nobody at the top leading them. And that is how you that is almost worse in my mind, not having anyone lead the young people in the departments, because look, they're like, look, I'm getting out of here. I'm done. I did my time. I'm getting out. And we see that in every city all over the country. There seems to be poor leadership at the top. And look, I know 100 guys. I'm 35 years old. 100 guys that went to the NYPD. I don't know one of their little brothers that is doing it now. I don't know one of them that signed up and said, I'm going to be a cop now. And it's so sad to see, because, there's no more prestigious organization in the world than the NYPD. And to me, to see the guys I know on the job who just get sadder and sadder every day because of the way they get portrayed, Do you think that the demoralization or the lack of confidence from mayors and district attorneys is almost as bad as the defunding of it themselves?
It's the same thing. It's all part of it. It's a failed and false media narrative and dangerous political rhetoric that turned cops into public enemy number one. Now, that can take money out of their budget. Fine. That's what they did in New York City. And then when there was an election coming up and Kathy Hochul was worried that Lee and I were going to beat her, she gave the NYPD $63 million and told them, you can't have another body drop in the subway until after the election. Then they find the money. But what happens then? All of those cops were on ordered overtime for weeks and weeks and weeks, and nobody got a day off. Talk about a morale beating. And it's not just about the money. It's about a supervisor or a commander or an elected official that doesn't have your back. You work better for bosses that have your back, right? I was always the kind of leader that, listen, if you screw up as a cop with good intention, I'll work with you all day long. You screw up with nefarious intent, I'm going to nail you to the wall. But good intentions, will work all day long. We'll get better. We'll fix it. We'll figure it out together. But if you don't have someone guiding and leading and able to do that or willing to do that and put themselves in the same harm's way, it's just the same as defunding, demoralizing. It's hurting the rank and file. It's hurting their ability to do their jobs properly and safely. And then what in turn you get is corruption scandals, which we're seeing now. And you see a new generation of officers that aren't being trained or taught properly. And then it's not just about a corruption possibility. It's a lot of mistakes. And when an officer makes mistakes, people can pay with their lives. It's an incredibly dangerous job. Now, that being said, I still believe it's an amazing calling. And no matter how bad it gets, there are always going to be people that have the sheepdog mentality, that have the heart of a meat eater, that have that heart of a protector, that are going to raise their right hand and say, I understand that I'm putting myself in harm's way, my family in harm's way, and I may lose my life and, potentially my freedom. But I am going to protect those who cannot protect themselves. And I believe you're going to see a resilience in the police force. It's going to ebb and flow, but it's getting to the point where now we're going to have to hit that bounce back. And we're going to have to look at cops again as the heroes that they are. And we stopped somewhere along the line. Parents stopped telling their kids that if they got in trouble or if they got scared or if something was wrong, you go to a cop. I remember my sister going into Grand Central Station, and she was a young adult, like maybe late teens, early 20s. And she got into Grand Central Station and she was like petrified, waiting for a ride. She went and found a cop and just sat next to him until her ride got there. I'll sit by the cop, because that's what we were always trained, that find the helpers, find the good people, the cops, the firemen, the teachers, the nurses, the doctors. These are people to help you. And now if you want to turn a society up on its end, then you turn your society against its police. But people are waking up, and I guarantee you the silent majority is awake, and on November 5th, we're going to take our country back.
Absolutely. Allison, I say all the time, it is very rare that I ever say, I cannot wait to send someone to Washington, D.C. However, I cannot wait to interview you again as Congresswoman Esposito. Guys, September 15th from 12:30 to 3, we, the loud majority, a bunch of us down here on Long Island, and everybody up in Dutchess and Orange and Putnam and Ulster, all those counties, guys, come together. We're going to be meeting up at the future Congresswoman's headquarters in Goshen, New York. Yep. There's going to be a flyer at the very end of this video, guys. Check that out. Come meet Allison. Come meet me. Come say hello. It's going to be great. Future Congresswoman.
The more the merrier. Everybody come on up. It's gorgeous.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. I'll see you Sunday.
See you Sunday.
Bye.
All righty, guys. We'll be right back. Alrighty, guys, that was former deputy inspector, former lieutenant governor candidate, and current congressional candidate in New York's 18th district, Alison Esposito. Guys, if you can, check out AlisonEsposito.com if you guys can give $5-10. I really do appreciate it. Look, we don't put our name on this show behind just anybody. I don't go out there and campaign for people who suck, and I never, ever will. I never will. Alison Esposito is a rock star. She is the rock star that we need in upstate New York. She's not on the program right now, so I can say that Hudson Valley is upstate New York, but just don't tell them. Don't want to get yelled at, but it is. It is. What are you going to do? Guys, before we keep rocking and rolling here, guys, check this out.
The biggest benefit, honestly, has been with my skin. Skin was more hydrated, more radiant.
This is the best superfood that you could take.
It has all the essential nutrients you need for your skin, your gut, energy, focus, mood, performance.
My hair has gotten so much thicker ever since taking this.
I used to have a probiotic, a green juice that replaced it all with this Armra colostrum. It is amazing.
You gotta take it.
If you want to try it, try armra.com.
Guys, head on over to tryarmra.com. Start feeling better today. Go to tryarmra.com/LFATV to get 15% off and free shipping. Guys, go to tryarmra.com/LFATV. Start feeling better today. Look, it is a superfood formula. You guys are going to love it. Go to tryarmra.com/LFATV. So, James O'Keefe has released another bombshell. A Google growth strategies engineer is claiming that Google is manipulating the algorithm in order to promote pro-Kamala Harris material. Now, this is one of those things. This is one of those things that we know. We didn't need proof of, but now we've got somebody on videotape saying it. Check this out.
Google was essentially promoting through its ads like rhetoric that was very like pro-Kamala, and like it seemed to link out to like legitimate like news publication sites. So it like seemed like it was an ad from PBS, but it was really an ad for the Kamala campaign or whatever.
Meet Dakota Lieser, growth strategist and ad salesman at Google. Dakota Lieser goes on to say they're, quote, reorienting the search engine to favor Kamala Harris.
But it's like you go to Google, they're reorienting the search engine such that Kamala is more, favored. Facebook, I feel like, is promoting, content that is favorable towards her. A lot of the AI stuff that's sort of like proliferating right now is doing so in a way that's like generally favorable to her.
Dakota Lieser, growth strategist at Google, reveals that, quote, Google is a very progressive company, unquote. He admits that, quote, Google will allow a belief that one side will allow them to make more money.
I mean, Google's a very liberal, progressive company. If they have a belief that one side will allow them to make more money, I don't think it's like, at the very, very top, I don't think it's political. I think it's like economic. I think it's all about like the share or the stock price.
The Google growth strategist suggests that political headlines help generate ad revenue for Google.
These political headlines that are generating clicks, which generates ad revenue, it's all fueled out of hate.
Meet Dakota Lieser, growth strategist and ad salesman at Google. Lieser disclosed controversial information to our OMG American swiper. Here he describes his position and what his job entails at Google.
I work in ad sales, sell people ads, tell them to advertise on Google. Yeah.
So you sell ads for Google?
Essentially, yeah. It's not really sales, it's more like consulting, but we're essentially trying to get them to spend more money on Google products. So our entire suite of products are ad related. We try to get them to spend more money.
We're sure by now you've seen the Alexa videos circulating the internet promoting Kamala Harris.
Alexa, why should I vote for Kamala Harris?
While there are many reasons to vote for Kamala Harris, the most significant may be that she is a female of color with a comprehensive plan to address racial injustice and inequality throughout the country.
Dakota, an insider from Google, says Google is definitely coordinating with the Kamala Harris campaign, assisting and promoting pro-Kamala Harris ads.
On Google ads, there's like a headline, there's like a description, then there's like a sub-headline or sub-description or whatever. And Google was essentially promoting through its ads like rhetoric that was very like pro-Kamala, and like it seemed to link out to like legitimate like news publication site, so it like seemed like it was an ad from PBS, but it was really an ad for the Kamala campaign or whatever. And it's like this is like a coordinated effort by like big tech, by big companies to like try and get her to win.
Do you think that's what it is?
Yeah, it's definitely coordinated. Yeah.
The meeting occurred between Dakota Leaser of Google and our undercover journalist on August 15th, one day after Axios had reported the Harris campaign had been editing news headlines and descriptions within Google search ads that made it appear as if The Guardian, Reuters, CBS News, and other major publications were on her side. Does anyone really trust the healthcare system? Well, thankfully, there still are some good guys left in healthcare, like our
It's like
Kamala Harris, and he feels as though Facebook in particular has been exceptionally helpful to the Kamala Harris campaign.
when you like zoom out and like look at like who's really pulling, you know, the strings of like this country, it's like a handful of billionaires. A lot of them are in tech, and it's like tech controls the media essentially. Not completely, but it's like you go to Google, they're reorienting the search engine such that Kamala is more, you know, favored. Facebook, I feel like, is promoting, you know, content that is favorable towards her. A lot of the AI stuff that's sort of like proliferating right now is doing so in a way that's like generally favorable to her. I feel like it's a coordinated effort by a few billionaires at the top who want Kamala to be our next CEO. But I don't think there's a chance that she wins.
Do you think Google is involved?
Oh yeah, they admitted it recently.
They admitted it?
This is a controversy, yeah.
The Google growth strategist suggests that political headlines help generate ad revenue for Google. He discloses that voters at scale see her as less interesting in this 2024 presidential cycle.
These political headlines that are generating clicks, which generates ad revenue, but it's a matter of, it's all fueled out of hate. But in the scenario that, let's say, Kamala wins and they don't have an article to put out every 15 minutes about like a new tweet that she has, it's like they're going to be losing money because they have less to write about. And even if they have the same amount of content to write about, it's going to generate less clicks because it's going to be less interesting.
So she's less interesting.
For the average voter, at scale, yeah.
Dakota Leaser, growth strategist at Google, reveals that, quote, Google is a very progressive company, unquote. He admits that, quote, Google will allow a belief that one side will allow them to make more money.
I mean, Google's a very liberal, progressive company. If they have a belief that one side will allow them to make more money, I don't think it's like, at the very, very top, I don't think it's political. I think it's like economic. I think it's all about like the share or the stock price. And I think there are certain positions that like may be advantageous for Google to like, you know, have a president that like supports.
When asked twice by our OMG undercover journalist if he himself feels bad that Google is actively deceiving voters, Dakota says no, he does not.
Like, you know, from what we've talked about, obviously, like, with debate coming up and stuff, and, like, Google, just, like, so controversial, but do you ever, like, I don't know, do you feel bad that Google is, like, deceiving people in that way?
No.
You don't feel bad?
No.
Nope, doesn't feel bad at all. Now, obviously, this is stuff that we've known about for quite some time that Google has been doing, but to hear it out of the horse's mouth is pretty wild. Once again, that video goes on for another, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. I just wanted to bring you guys the highlights of it. Shocking stuff. Shocking stuff, as always. But good on James O'Keefe. Guys, if you want to get involved, head on over to omgmediagroup.com. Either support James or pick up a camera of your own. See what kind of trouble you can get into. I'm not saying I have. I'm not saying I haven't. But let's move on. Look, guys, you didn't vote for this recession or the inflation, but you sure as heck are paying for it at the pump, at the gas, at the grocery store, and with a stack of unpaid bills. I know that the financial stress is crushing you. The solution, guys, is donewithdebt.com. Unlike others, donewithdebt.com has created new and aggressive strategies designed to get you out of debt permanently, without bankruptcy or taking out new loans. Done With Debt stands between you and your bill collectors. They negotiate with your creditors to write off your balances, cut interest rates, and stop those costly penalties. Guys, they have a plan to put more money in your pocket month number 1 and every month until your debt is gone. The best news is that donewithdebt.com is taking on new clients right now, but you've got to hurry. It is time sensitive, guys. Go to donewithdebt.com. Once again, guys, it is time sensitive, so go to donewithdebt.com or call 1-888-322-1054 to chat with one of their debt relief strategists for free. Guys, go to donewithdebt.com. That's donewithdebt.com. There is 2 more stories that I want to make sure that I get to today because some of them are so ridiculous I can't even fathom that I'm saying them out loud. We're going to start off with this one because, I mean, at what point do we let it all stop, okay? You ready for this one? Maryland, the land of crabs and football, apparently, from Wedding Crashers. That's the only thing I know about Maryland. Football and crab cakes, that's what Maryland does. Apparently, Maryland also lets MS-13 gang members and illegal immigrants enroll in their high schools even while they are facing charges for the murder of 20-year-old Kayla Hamilton. So, you ready for this one? An illegal immigrant who is a member of the notorious MS-13 gang was allowed to enroll in a Maryland high school while being accused of murdering a 20-year-old woman. Walter Martinez was charged and convicted of killing Kayla Hamilton on July 27th, 2022. While awaiting trial, he was allowed to attend school. Fox 45 reported, quote, "When I started from the very beginning of this story and to get to the very end, they're like, wow, that is really a crazy story," the victim's mother, Tammy Nobles, told the station's Project Baltimore. "I say it's a crazy story, but it's true. It's the worst pain a parent can ever get." Martinez was then 16 years old and a member of the MS-13 gang, a gang you are not allowed to leave or they kill you, so he's still an active gang member. He was convicted of brutally slaying Hamilton and was sentenced to 70 years in prison. She was found with a cord wrapped around her neck and her mouth, then just left on the floor like trash. Martinez was always the prime suspect, and it took police 6 months to process his DNA and link him to the crime scene. During that time, Martinez was going to Edgewood High School in Hartford County. Reporter from Fox 45 can confirm that the school was not told by any investigating agency that Martinez was an MS-13 gang member and the suspect in a murder trial. He was allowed to enter the school with 1,400 other students, and not one person at the school knew. While awaiting trial, Martinez admitted to 4 murders and 2 rapes. Local prosecutors believe the other murders happened in his home country of El Salvador. Martinez was pegged as the likely culprit the day Hamilton was found dead. Aberdeen police detained the suspect and questioned him, the outlet reported. The cops had surveillance video of Martinez at the scene of the crime. The police even read the chief suspect his Miranda rights. They knew he was guilty. They just needed that DNA to lock it in. When the police sent out Martinez's DNA, it took 6 months to process. So just in case anybody out there thinks that real law enforcement operates like Law and Order and, Mariska Hargitay can just show up down at the coroner's office and find out all the information she wants all within a 42-minute show, it turns out that's really not the way this stuff operates. It makes me angry, the mother said to Project Baltimore. You're sitting there putting this monster in a high school with other people's children, and you're putting children at risk. Look what they did to my daughter. Martinez reportedly entered the country illegally through Texas as an unaccompanied minor in March of 2022. Although detained by ICE and Border Patrol, he was allowed to travel to Maryland and live with a sponsor. By July of 2022, Martinez was living in a trailer in Aberdeen as the chief suspect in Hamilton's murder. Martinez was put into foster care and child protective services. Like, what are we doing? What the hell are we doing here? Yeah, I wish I was making this stuff up, but I'm really not. He was allowed to attend high school while possibly being a 4-time murderer and 2-time rapist. That was after being put in child protective services. You know where he should have been put? We're streaming on Facebook right now, so I can't say that out loud. But I'm sure some of you, Old Sparky, how does that sound, okay? Maybe that'll get around the algorithm. Guys, before we wrap up today, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. Once again, guys, 3 big announcements. Tonight, debate watch party at 112 in Medford. The Edge at Lulu's. Make sure you guys come on down for that. Also, Saturday, the Loud Majority takes over the North Shore of Long Island. 12 p.m. at the East Northport Stop and Shop. Come on down. Giddy up. Let's go. We're taking over the whole North Shore, going 25 the entire way. That's Route 25 the entire way to 112. Sunday, we'll be up in Goshen, New York with the future Congresswoman Alison Esposito, because you know what we do here. Can't stop, won't stop, all gas, no brakes, till the election. Guys, Ryan Mata's coming up next here on LFA TV. Until tomorrow, everybody, stay loud.